What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Elementary Season 5, Episode 5, To Catch a Predator Predator. So, here's the thing. This season of Elementary has been much slower than usual, I guess, as far as Elementary goes. It's been very case-by-case based, which isn't bad for most shows. You know, NCIS normally does that, Criminal Minds normally does that. Elementary's been doing that for first few seasons, but here's the problem. The first 4 seasons, we had this case-by-case thing going on, but there's something really interesting going on in the background that also catches the interest. So it's like, the cases have been good, the character development has been good, but there's always something going on, whether it was with Moriarty, whether it was with Sherlock's father, whether it was with Sherlock dealing with drug stuff. There was always something going on, and it kept my interest. This season, they've got the whole thing with Shinwell, kind of. We just now found out, oh, he's doing something with this guy, and apparently they have plans, and he knows that he's working with Watson. And so, I don't know, it's kind of thrown in there last minute, like, oh, look at this, something's going on with Shinwell. But it feels more like character development than it does real interesting story. You know, we've seen Sherlock have to take on Moriarty and her group of, like, thugs. So to see, oh no, Shinwell's working with this guy, they're probably going to go do something bad and maybe rob a place. Oh no, it just doesn't feel as grand as it should. And especially because the last season ended so poorly, in my opinion. You had such a great build-up for everything with Sherlock's dad, with meeting the guy who is pretty much this this show's version of James Moriarty. Meeting all of this stuff going on, all the story building, all of the build-up for that final episode, and then just ends like that. Sherlock doesn't have to do anything about it. It just ends. It was really disappointing. And so I'm thinking going into this season, we need to have something to catch the interest, to really make it great again. Strange Trump reference. But, you know, to make this season, this show, interesting for this season. And they bring in Shinwell. And Watson talking to Shinwell. And Watson trying to help Shinwell. And Shinwell being a crook. That's what we've got for the season so far. And it's not working. It's not interesting enough. It's not catching my attention well enough. And it's kind of... It's not that this show is bad. It's not that this show is poor. This episode... I talked about last week's episode how the case wasn't interesting enough. It wasn't relatable enough for us, the audience, to really get into. This case was much more interesting. And even though it was kind of confusing at times, I really do like how they ended it. You know, the twist at the end was very... It wasn't a very well done twist, but I liked the reasoning behind it. However, because this season so far has not caught my interest, I'm kind of watching it with half interest. I'm not really focused. Like, the first 4 seasons so far, I've been really focused on the show. I've been like, okay, you know, what case have we got this week? Is it going to connect to the main case going on at all? What's going to happen? Is it going to be an interesting case? Is it going to be a case that I can solve too? What's going on? What's going to happen? This season it's been, oh, there's a predator going around? Okay. Somebody filming predators? Okay. Oh, the guy that got killed was actually the one doing it? Okay. And it's going to be that girl that we saw at the very beginning, right? Because they questioned everybody else. This feels very familiar. Bones. It's the Bones formula. That is the one... it's the one issue that I think I have with this episode. I mean, I already talked about the fact that overall so far the season isn't connecting, but this episode in particular, this case, would have been fine if there was a bigger overarching story, but there's not. So now I'm finding the flaws. I'm finding the fact that the way they handle this case, if you saw my Bones reviews, I talked about this formula before. They go through, they question this person, they get a clue, oh, it leads to this person, they question them, not them, get another clue, leads to this person, question that person, and at the very end, it's somebody that's never been talked to before. That's the Bones formula. I've seen it so many times in so many crime shows that It's starting to get very cliche. And Elementary generally does not do that. They have a few suspects. They're going through the suspect list, trying to figure out who it is, and then ultimately they find that final clue that's like, okay, now we know who it is. Now we bring them back in. We tell them we've got you cornered. We've got enough evidence. This one, it's like he talked to her for a second, 1 second. Like he sees that she's interested in the conversation he was having with her boss, and so he asks her for information. She gives it to him, and finally at the end of the episode, we find out, oh, she's the bad guy. And like I said, I like the reasoning behind the twist. You know, her story, I like that setup. It was very well done. It kind of, once again, fed into this whole, because Sherlock's working with the police, the vigilantism is not something that is approved of on this show. Even in Sherlock's point of view, like, he prefers to work with the police, not just by himself. So this guy, pretty much a vigilante in context, he's going around doing all this stuff, and it actually hurts this girl because she wanted the guy that abused her to be brought to justice. So the fact that this guy stepped in, did his little humiliation thing, and caused this guy to flee before the police could prosecute him, yeah, that would upset her. I understand that. However, the way we got to it was not interesting enough. It was like, oh, follow this clue, nowhere. Follow this clue, nowhere. Follow this clue, nowhere. Final clue, we know who it is now. And it's somebody we haven't questioned yet. It's just, it was not gripping. And that's my biggest problem, is that this case throughout was not gripping. It was not until the very final part that I actually got gripped by it. And at that point, it's too late. I've lost interest. If I wasn't watching it for review's sake, I probably would have just kind of toned out and been like, oh, it's her? Okay, and not even really cared. So, I don't know, they need to do the case better. And then ultimately, the other frustration, which is just kind of, I don't know if they wanted to throw it in there for, I guess, cliche's sake, because every single forgiveness killer, or, you know, somebody who's killed but isn't really a killer, it's just like, I didn't mean to kill him. You tied him up, you were facing him, you had the gun, there was no danger, but you didn't mean to kill him. If it was like he fought back and then she shot him, then it's like, okay, I understand that. You fought to save it, but you had him tie up his hands, you were completely in control of the situation, and then because of how he looked at you, you killed him but didn't mean to? No. No. They just sort of threw it in there. Like, that's something, oh, she's not really a killer, so this is something she's supposed to say. You don't have to do that. I mean, it was stupid. It really was. And I don't know why it was there. I don't know why they threw that line in there, but it just didn't fit at all with what happened, with at least the story that she was telling. It didn't make sense at all that, oh, yeah, I didn't mean to kill him. It was strange. It was very strange. So, I guess overall, I'd have to say the case wasn't really that good. The stuff with Shinwell isn't really that good. And I think overall that's kind of why I'm frustrated. If the stuff on the outside was good, if there was something really interesting going on the outside, if Moriarty were in this season, I'd probably look at this episode and be like, yeah, it wasn't that great, but there's certain elements that worked. But because the entire season so far has been really frustrating, because it really hasn't been interesting enough, the flaws stand out so much more. And from the perspective of a fan of this show, I have to say that's very disappointing, because I feel like this show knows better. It knows better than to have these mistakes, than to do these flaws that are a part of other crime shows. It felt like they knew not to do that. And even Sherlock himself in this one felt very strange. He made a masturbator joke. Really? Come on, this is not Sherlock that I know. This is... I don't even know. It's one thing to have Sherlock in modern day New York. You want to tell that story, that's fine. But keep it Sherlock Holmes. Don't change him, because that's part of the fun of it. Seeing him have to be Sherlock Holmes in modern day New York. That's interesting. Turning him into New York version of Sherlock Holmes is like just that's a different show. That's not the show that I signed up to see. So, some problems, not interesting enough. I'm really worried about this season right now because so far there were some good episodes and then there were some not good episodes so far. We're 5 episodes in. I really need to see something that's going to get my hope back for the show. So we'll see where it's going to go, but for right now, not happy. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What you like and dislike about this episode? Let me know. We can talk about, discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Elementary reviews, and I'll see you at the next one. Peace out.